I still remember the smell of pine needles and the way sunlight broke through the trees like it had something to say. We had barely made it an hour into the forest, but it already felt like another world. Quieter, cleaner, older somehow. My dad kept saying it was just what we needed. Fresh air, no distractions, real peace, he told us, tapping the wheel like he was steering a ship toward paradise. It was supposed to be a simple camping trip, a weekend getaway. Mom, Dad, my little sister Lily, Uncle Rob and me. No phones, no work, no stress, just tents, marshmallows, and tall stories by the fire. Funny how fast things change. I was in the back seat, earphones half in, watching the trees whip past when the car gave a shudder. At first I thought we hit a rock or something, but then it did it again, stumbled, like it was gasping for breath. Then silence. No engine. No hum. Just that eerie quiet you only hear when there's nothing mechanical nearby. We all looked at Dad. He twisted the key. Nothing. Tried again. Still nothing. "We're out of gas," he muttered. "Wait, what?" Mom asked, leaning over. Uncle Rob chuckled like it was some kind of cosmic joke. "I told you we should have topped off before we turned off the main road." "Relax," Dad said, forcing a grin. "There's got to be a ranger station or something nearby." But the truth settled in quickly. We were alone. No phone signal, no passing cars, no signs, just trees and a single dirt road behind us that seemed to vanish in both directions. We waited at first, hoping maybe, just maybe, a car might roll down the same forgotten path we took. But after 30 minutes of swatting bugs and arguing about maps that didn't show anything useful, we decided to walk. "We'll just go a little farther," Dad said. "See if we can spot a cabin or a road or anything." So we packed light. Water, a flashlight, Lily's inhaler, just the basics. And we walked. The trees got thicker. The birds went quiet. The air felt heavier, like it didn't want us there. After about an hour, my feet started to ache. We hadn't seen a single sign of human life. No mailboxes, no fences, not even tire tracks. That's when Mom asked, "How is there nothing out here?" "I don't like this," Lily whispered, gripping my hand tighter. Neither did I. But then, we saw it. At first I thought it was a mirage, sunlight hitting glass just right. But as we pushed through the trees, it became clearer. A massive structure, stone, glass, iron, a palace, not a cabin, not a lodge, a palace, in the middle of nowhere. It rose from the forest like it had grown there, grand and gothic, with tall windows, or what looked like windows, and black iron gates swallowed in ivy. There was no road leading to it, no driveway, just moss, vines, and silence. We stood frozen. "Are we seeing this?" Rob asked, squinting. Dad moved first, brushing the branches aside. "Maybe someone here can help." We all hesitated before following him to the gate. It wasn't locked. It creaked open like it had been waiting. The front doors loomed ahead, twice the size of normal doors, carved with symbols I didn't recognize. Dad knocked. We waited. I could hear my heart beating. Or maybe that was just the sound of the wind if there was any. Even the trees felt like they were holding their breath. Then, the door creaked open, and a face appeared in the crack. A woman, smiling. "Lost, are we?" she asked, in a voice too calm. I didn't answer. I just swallowed hard and looked at the others. That was the last moment I felt safe. The woman who opened the door had a smile too wide for her face. Her eyes didn't quite match it. There was warmth there, sure. But the kind of warmth you feel when you step too close to a fireplace and realize you've burned your skin. "Come in," she said. "You must be exhausted." My dad cleared his throat. "Actually, we were hoping someone might have fuel, or a phone. Our car ran out on the forest road. We didn't realize how far in we were." She tilted her head slightly, as if she was considering whether to laugh or cry. "No roads come here," she said softly. "You won't find any." That didn't make sense. We'd driven in. We'd followed the road. Twisting, narrow, yes. But it was there. And then we walked through the trees for hours. How could there be no roads? But before any of us could ask, she opened the door wider and stepped aside. The air that spilled out was warm, and smelled like rosemary, roasted meat, and something faintly metallic. I exchanged a glance with Mom. She looked tired and a little pale. We stepped in. Inside, the palace was even more surreal. The floor was black marble, polished like a mirror. Chandeliers loomed overhead, too grand for something hidden in the woods. Velvet drapes hung in heavy folds. Every corner of the space was filled with objects, strange sculptures, paintings of people whose eyes seemed to follow you, taxidermied animals positioned just slightly wrong. "Where did you say this was again?" Uncle Rob whispered to Dad. "This isn't on any map I've seen." Before we could dwell on it, two others appeared from the hallway. A man, tall and lean, with gray, slicked-back hair and a long coat that looked like it belonged in a museum. And beside him, two grown children. A man and woman in their 20s, both pale, both smiling. "This is our family," the woman from the door said. "I'm Celine. This is my husband Otto, and our children, Marina and Theo." "We don't often get visitors," Otto said, his voice so smooth it gave me chills. "Please, make yourselves at home." They showed us to a long sitting room. Everything was upholstered in deep red. I noticed there were locks on the inside of the doors, heavy ones, not just bolts but thick iron bars and hooks. Dad noticed too. He nudged me and gave a little shrug like weird rich people things. We asked again about fuel or a phone. Celine just smiled. "I'm afraid we live quite apart from the world," she said. "There's no signal out here, but it's late. You should rest. Stay the night. In the morning, we'll see what can be done." I didn't like it. None of us really did. But we were cold, tired, and Lily was starting to wheeze a little. She needed rest, and they had been polite, welcoming even. So we stayed. Dinner was served at a long, candlelit table that looked like it had been plucked from a haunted castle. Everything was meat, slices of roast, dishes of seared liver, something that looked like braised heart. No vegetables, no bread, no explanation. "Do you raise your own livestock?" Mom asked carefully. "Oh yes," Marina answered with a soft grin. "All homegrown." I pushed the food around on my plate. The texture of the liver made my stomach twist. Lily whispered that hers tasted weird and gave it to me under the table. The palace family barely ate. They just watched. Calm, observant, like hosts watching test subjects. When the meal ended, Otto stood and clapped his hands. "Now I imagine you're all very tired. We've prepared rooms for you." As we were led down the long hallway, I noticed something else. There were no clocks. None. No ticking. No sense of time. And again, those damn locks on the inside of each door. We settled into separate rooms, each one too ornate to feel real. The wallpaper was peeling in places, revealing words scratched into the wall beneath. I couldn't read them. I lay on the stiff bed for hours. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the glint of the carving knives in the kitchen, or remembered the way Marina's gaze lingered on my neck during dinner. Something about this place wasn't right. I was just about to get up when I heard it, a door locking from the other side of the hallway. The palace family was turning in early. Too early. And somewhere down that long, red hallway, I heard a sound that didn't belong to a house at all. Metal. Scraping. A muffled grunt. My stomach tightened. Something was wrong with this place. I just didn't know yet how wrong. That night felt colder than it should have. Not the kind of cold you feel on your skin, but something that slips beneath it, into your bones. The room was too still, the silence unnaturally perfect. Not even the wind dared make a sound. After dinner, the palace family had wished us good night far too early. No small talk, no tea, no suggestions to play a game or relax by the fire. Just smiles, calm, fixed, unsettling. They disappeared behind their thick wooden doors, each one echoing with a loud click as locks turned from the inside. I couldn't sleep. Neither could my dad, apparently. I could hear him shifting around in the room across from mine. Occasionally, the floor creaked outside, but it never sounded like someone walking, More like the palace was stretching, settling, remembering. The bed they gave me was too soft, like it was swallowing me whole. The red velvet curtains were drawn shut, though I had no idea why. They didn't cover windows. There were no windows. And then, sometime past midnight, I heard it. Whispers. Faint. Just beyond the wall. Too soft to make out the words, but clear enough that it was language. At first I thought it was my imagination, or maybe someone watching TV in another room. But the whispers got louder, slowly. And then came the footsteps, soft, padded, barefoot. Someone, or something, moving through the hallway just outside. I held my breath. Who would be walking around at this hour? Everyone was supposed to be asleep. Even Lily's quiet breathing had stopped in the next room. The doorknob on my door twitched. Just once. A single silent turn that didn't go through. The door was locked from the inside, thank God. I stared at it in the dark, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then, silence again. I didn't sleep after that. I sat up in bed, frozen, just listening. Every now and then I'd hear a soft shuffle or a chair creak somewhere down the corridor. But I didn't move. I didn't dare. Until I heard Lily's voice. She wasn't scared, just sleepy. "Bathroom," she mumbled outside my door. She wasn't supposed to be up alone. I threw the door open just in time to see her disappearing around the corner of the hallway in her little bunny slippers, holding her flashlight like it was a toy. "Lily!" I hissed, rushing after her. She didn't answer. The hallway stretched impossibly long in the dark. My feet made no sound on the carpet, but everything else did. The creaks, the moans of the old palace, the quiet ticking of something I couldn't place. I turned a corner and found her standing by a door. "It's locked," she said, still half asleep. I tried the handle. It wasn't locked. "Go back to the room," I whispered. "I'll check this one." She nodded and wandered back, rubbing her eyes. I pushed the door open just a crack and peeked in. And that's when I saw it. At first I didn't register what I was looking at. It was too much all at once. Dim red light. A heavy metallic smell. Chains. Hooks. Meat. Slabs of it. Hanging. Some small, some too large to be any animal. The walls were stained dark. Blood? I don't know. There were knives, tools, a cutting table, and on the far wall, photos, pinned in neat rows, family photos, dozens of families, some old, yellowed, some newer, each one smiling, arms around each other. A few looked vaguely familiar. Then I saw us, our picture, from dinner that night, already printed, already pinned, beneath it, written in ink. Next course, well-fed, tender, young. I nearly dropped the flashlight. My breath caught in my throat. I backed up, but something behind the door caught my eye. A small, leather-bound journal. I grabbed it without thinking and bolted. Back in my room, I locked the door and flipped the journal open. It wasn't a diary. It was a menu. Dates, names, notes. Tough meat, too old. Delicious, sweet girl, 8 years old. The stew was best with shoulder cuts. I stopped when I saw today's date, written neatly beside it. 5 guests, 2 adults, 1 elder, 2 children. Slaughter begins at dawn. I didn't throw up. I wanted to, but I didn't. I just closed the book, shoved it under the bed, and tried to breathe. 10 minutes later, I knocked quietly on my parents' door. My hands were shaking. My voice was barely above a whisper. "Wake up," I said. "We have to go. Now." When I told my parents what I saw, about the butcher room, the photos, the journal, they didn't believe me at first. Who would? But then I pulled out the little leather-bound book. I flipped to the page with today's date and showed them the words. Simple, clean, chilling. 5 guests, 2 adults, 1 elder, 2 children. Slaughter begins at dawn. Dad's face drained of color. Mom grabbed Lily and held her so tight it made her squirm. We didn't waste time arguing after that. We packed what little we had and crept down the hallway like ghosts. Every floorboard felt like it echoed for miles. The palace felt alive now, watching us, listening. When we reached the front door, Dad grabbed the iron handle and pulled. It didn't budge. He tried again. Nothing. Then he saw it, just above the handle. A thick iron bolt that hadn't been there earlier. A lock the size of a fist, latched and sealed shut. "No," he muttered. "No, no, no." He turned to me. "Find another way out. Windows, cellar, anything." We split up, but it didn't matter. There were no windows. Not in the bedrooms, not in the kitchen, not even in the tall rooms with curtains drawn floor to ceiling. The curtains hid only walls, some of them padded, some of them scratched with deep gouges. I returned to the main hall where Uncle Rob was trying to pry open a side door. Mom had gone to the second floor, checking every room. No luck. That's when we noticed something else. The clocks. We hadn't seen any before, but now they were everywhere. On mantels, on tables, on the walls, and they were all ticking. Loudly. But none of them showed the same time. Every single one was frozen at a different hour. Except one. A black grandfather clock by the staircase. It ticked. Loud, methodical. And with each swing of its pendulum, I swear the air in the room got heavier. Uncle Rob pointed to it. "That's our countdown. I'd bet anything." We didn't wait to find out what it was counting down to. We moved deeper into the palace, searching for any hidden exits, keys, escape routes. That's when we found the first hidden room. Behind a bookshelf in the dining hall was a narrow passage. We squeezed through and found ourselves in a chamber filled with things I wish I could forget. Jars. Dozens of them, maybe more. Some held what looked like human remains. Fingers, ears, teeth. Preserved in cloudy liquid. Each was labeled, as if part of a collection. Beside the jars, photo albums. Some were faded, some recent. All filled with images of strangers, smiling, unaware, enjoying what looked like the same dinner table we had sat at just hours before. I opened one album at random. There was a picture of a little girl blowing out birthday candles in the palace's dining room. Another of an elderly man shaking Otto's hand. And then the last page, a drawing of the palace, and 5 stick figures beneath it, labeled Next. That's when Lily screamed. We ran to her. She had wandered into another room across the hall, a smaller parlor, and on the wall hung a large portrait. It was us, a painted portrait. All 5 of us, seated at the dinner table, smiling. Only our eyes had been scratched out with something sharp. And someone had scrawled in red across the bottom, "Feast Day." Mom collapsed to her knees. "I want to go home," Lily cried, over and over. Dad pulled us together. "We're not dying in this house. We'll find the key." "And if we don't?" I asked. He looked around, at the jars, the photos, the portrait, and said quietly, "Then we become the next ones in those jars." We moved fast. Every door we opened led to something worse. A bedroom where the bedposts were shackles. A nursery filled with cracked porcelain dolls with human hair. A soundproof chamber that smelled like bleach and rot. We searched under beds, behind paintings, through closets. Still no key. And all the while, that grandfather clock ticked louder. Louder. Like it was mocking us. Like it was savoring every second we had left. Then, Uncle Rob opened a door at the end of a side corridor. It led to a basement staircase. The air down there was colder. Wetter. He turned to us, flashlight trembling in his hand. "I think we have to go down." We stared into the blackness of the basement staircase, none of us wanting to go first, but knowing we had to. The air seeping up was thick, like the breath of something that had been sleeping far too long. Uncle Rob took the lead with a flashlight. The wooden steps groaned under our weight as we descended one by one into the cold gut of the palace. The basement was massive, larger than the floor above. Stone walls, damp and mossy. The smell of mildew mixed with something coppery and raw. And something else. Decay. The deeper we moved, the more it smelled like something had died down there, long ago, and maybe again recently. We spread out cautiously, searching for anything that looked like a key or a hidden exit. Each turn revealed more horrors. A cage lined with blankets and gnawed bones, a pit filled with broken dolls, a sink stained permanently red, and then a door. Rusted. Locked. I found a vent nearby and tugged it open to peek inside. Something was jammed in the corner. A box. I pulled it out and opened it. Inside was an old brittle journal, leather-bound. The name on the front was barely legible. Marta. The writing inside was hurried and panicked. Some pages were stained with tears or blood. They don't sleep. Not really. They wait. Every traveler, every guest. They say grace before slaughter. I helped clean for years before I realized the truth. They eat them. They eat all of them. Page after page of torment. Descriptions of preparation rituals. Lists of names. Tally marks. Then I found one page with a hand-drawn map, outlining the basement. A red X was drawn on a room labeled Cellar Chamber Number 3. I showed it to Dad. We need to find this room. We split up. Risky, yes, but time wasn't on our side. The ticking from the grandfather clock above had become deafening, even down here. It echoed through the pipes, as if the whole house pulsed to its beat. I took the right corridor. The halls were tight, the air close. I moved past chains, metal doors, hanging tools. I passed a cracked mirror, caught my own reflection. I didn't recognize the person staring back. Then I found it. A meat cellar. A low-ceilinged chamber, chilled by a silent refrigeration unit. Metal hooks hung from the rafters. And at the back of the room, a skull. Not on a shelf, not in a box, but placed ceremoniously on a pedestal. I didn't want to touch it, but something told me this was it. This was where they'd hide it, where they'd mock their victims with irony. I reached inside the skull, and there it was. A key. Just as my fingers closed around it, I heard something above me. A creak, followed by a door opening, followed by humming. Soft and childlike. Marina's voice. I froze. I didn't breathe. Then I ran. I bolted through the hallway, slipping on the wet stone, crashing into walls. The humming grew louder. From behind, from above, it was like they were everywhere. I burst back into the main floor just as Mom, Dad, Rob, and Lily converged from the other hallways. "I got it!" I shouted, waving the key. And that's when we saw them, the Palace family, standing at the top of the staircase. Celine, Otto, Marina, and Theo. All four of them dressed in pristine white robes now, hands clasped, smiling. "Going somewhere?" Otto asked softly, tilting his head. We ran. No hesitation, no answer. The house roared to life, floorboards cracking, chandeliers swinging, doors slammed shut behind us. The layout had changed. What used to be a hallway was now a wall. We had to duck into crawl spaces, wedge ourselves through narrow servant corridors. I lost my shoe climbing up a dumbwaiter shaft. Lily scraped her knee. Uncle Rob almost got locked in a hidden pantry that slammed shut the second we exited. All the while we heard them, humming, footsteps, whispering through the walls. They were everywhere. Every time we thought we had a straight path, it bent. Every time we saw a door, it vanished. But eventually, miraculously, we reached the front foyer. And there it was. The front door. Dad rushed forward and jammed the key into the lock. It didn't turn at first. The humming grew louder. The footsteps approached. I turned to see Theo slowly walking toward us, dragging a long carving knife against the wall. Marina peeked out from behind a curtain. Celine stood in the dining room doorway, swaying slightly. Click. The lock turned. The bolt slid free. "Now!" Dad shouted. We flung the door open and ran into the night. But the forest wasn't the same anymore. The trees had shifted. The path was gone. Behind us, the palace stood tall, shadowed and still, as if it had never moved. On the doorstep, the palace family stood calmly, smiling, watching, humming. We didn't look back. The moment the door cracked open and the night air hit our faces, we ran. Full speed, lungs burning, hearts racing. Behind us, I heard the palace door swing slowly shut with a calm finality. No one chased us. No footsteps. No shouting. Just silence. But somehow, that silence felt worse. It was like the forest itself was listening. The path we remembered, the one we had walked just yesterday, was gone. The road, the trees, the mossy patches of trail. Nothing was familiar. It was as if the palace had swallowed it, or maybe we had never left its reach in the first place. Branches clawed at our clothes, thorns scraped our skin. Dad carried Lily in his arms, and Mom clung to Rob for balance as we crashed through the undergrowth. Every time I glanced behind, I swore I saw the outline of the palace, still towering in the distance, no matter how far we ran. Always there, watching, and the trees. They didn't move right. They shifted in ways that didn't match the wind. Their trunks leaned slightly in our direction. Their shadows crawled just a beat behind our feet. At one point, I could have sworn I saw faces carved into the bark. Long, stretched, silent screams. We didn't stop. We ran until our legs gave out. By the time the sky began to gray with dawn, we were broken. Cuts on our arms, shoes torn. Lily sobbing softly against Dad's chest. Rob was bleeding from his hand. He'd gashed it on a jagged rock somewhere in the dark. I felt like my heart had been permanently lodged in my throat. Then, in the distance, a sound. Not from the forest, not humming, not whispers, but a low rumble. Tires. An engine. We scrambled toward it, clawing through the last veil of trees, and burst onto the edge of an old two-lane highway. A rusted pickup truck was rolling slowly down the road. We screamed, waved our arms, collapsed in front of it. The driver, an older man with a flannel shirt and a thick beard, stopped immediately. He leapt out, eyes wide. "What the hell happened to y'all?" We didn't answer. None of us could. He drove us into town. We sat in stunned silence, huddled in the bed of his truck. Mom stared blankly at the trees as they passed. Dad just kept whispering to Lily, "You're okay now, you're okay now." Over and over, more like a wish than a truth. When we reached the gas station, the man called an ambulance. The sheriff came too. They asked questions, where we'd been, what had happened. We told them we got lost camping, nothing more. They wouldn't believe us if we told the truth. No one would. It's been 3 weeks since we got home. We haven't talked about the palace since. The doctors say Lily's nightmares will pass. Rob's hand healed fine. Mom is back to cleaning the same corner of the kitchen over and over like she's still trying to scrub something invisible away. As for me, I haven't slept more than a few hours at a time. I can't eat meat. I can't look at velvet without feeling sick. And then, yesterday, a package arrived. No return address, no stamps, just sitting on our doorstep like it had been gently placed there moments before. I opened it. Inside was a single photograph. It was our family, sitting at the palace dinner table. We were smiling, all of us. But there was something wrong with the image. Our eyes were darker, hollower. The food on the table looked more raw than I remembered. And behind us, blurred but clearly present, stood the palace family, all 4 of them, smiling. Beneath the photo, handwritten in red ink, "Next course, coming home."